All right, I started recording.
Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to me learning Rust, where we left off. This is where we left off here in Emacs. Once again, just for clarity's sake, the thing that I am trying to do is work through these programming projects um, that essentially teach you how to do a bunch of neat stuff with chemistry, but through programming. And we're in project one, and we essentially got all the way through step one, and that's kind of where we stop. Just step one of project one. So I think we'll go ahead and get back into it. I think we have some really fun and neat ideas for today's video. Thanks. Do you want to do your intro now?
Sure, yeah.
You want me to go back to the screen?
No, this is perfect.
This is perfection.
Let me think. I'm trying to decide actually.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, sure, yeah. Go back to the other thing, and then I'll throw it back to you at the end. We'll kind of segue into the code.
Okay.
All right. What's up, guys? We're back with episode 2 of our Teaching Zach to Program in Rust series. Today we're looking again at Project 1 of the Crawford Programming Projects, where we're doing some molecular geometry analysis, as you can see on the screen. And last time we were here, we basically read this coordinate data into the program and split it up into a format that we're ready to work with. So Zach, why don't you show them the code you wrote last time, and we'll go ahead and get started with today's video.
All right. Perfect. So this is the code that I wrote last time. So in the last video, essentially what we had done is I learned how to use the documentation in order to search for essentially exactly what I wanted to do for the first part of project, or step one, which was to read a file, in which we ripped straight from the documentation on how to open a file. We just searched open or file open, and it gave us basically this entire thing right here down to about right there. Which literally just reads this file that I've given it. And then from here, I was able to read it to a string. Um, and then in order to finish step one of project one, I essentially made a couple of vectors to store each of the different parts of the input file. So we have the charge as well as the X, Y, and Z coordinates split individually. And we also down here were able to put them into their necessary types. So we have integers and we have floats. That way we are ready to do some basic mathematics on the numbers for whatever we need. So that's essentially what we did in step one, or for video one.
Beautiful. Why don't you give it a run? We'll just see what comes out. Get us
All
back
right,
in the mindset.
back in the saddle. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. So, like I said, we split everything that we needed. So here's our charge vector. It's got our charges. Our x vector gives us our x coordinate, so and so and so. And then for posterity, we have the whole thing down here.
Perfect.
Works as intended.
Okay, so what do you want to do today?
So I think that today it would probably be good to refactor the code, and start to pull out the pieces that could have been their own individual function, um, outside of the main function, just so the main function looks cleaner than it does right now. Because I feel like most of this could have been just one function that's just read and split. You know what I mean? So I feel like learning how to refactor today and then using that knowledge for the subsequent steps is probably a great place to start for episode two.
Yeah, that sounds great. So we'll get to take a look at functions, basically. We've seen a very basic function with fn main up here. But today we'll get to factor one out that will probably take some arguments. It'll probably return some things other than a result. So we'll get to play along with that.
Okay,
Um,
great.
so actually, one nice thing about our setup here in Emacs is that Rust Analyzer provides some tools for refactoring. So as a first step, you can really just visually select the code you would like to extract into a function, and we'll see if the code action handles it for us.
No way. Can
Yeah,
you really?
yeah, yeah.
Man. All right. So the I guess my next question is
Yeah.
then would all of this be one function or would this be two separate functions?
So there's a quip from a famous computer scientist that says there are like two hard problems in programming. Uh, I don't remember what the first one is, but the second one is naming things, and
Okay.
often coinciding with naming things is determining where to split things.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
So there's a lot of taste involved here. Um,
Yeah, right.
but I think, yeah. I mean, what are you thinking? What I think you, yeah, yeah,
I I think just from my personal perspective, or at least my naive perspective on how to handle this problem,
yeah,
it would be good to make this whole thing one function.
yeah,
Because if in the future you just give it an input file that has the number of atoms and then the Cartesian coordinates with the charge, you're done, essentially. You don't have to do anything else.
yeah.
This is one function, handles everything. It takes a file and then it will just return whatever it returns. In this case, it returns these vectors.
That sounds great to me. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay,
Okay, yeah. So
so
just go ahead and select visual select.
all of this.
You probably want to leave that line in main.
This line.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that will tell the language server that we need to return these variables.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so I would freak from here up, I guess,
Yep,
right, all the way up here.
yep. And
Okay.
then I think we bound Control C A to the things.
Control C A.
There you go,
Whoa.
extracting the function. Yep.
Control C A, dude. Man, that is sick. Dude, this is
Boom.
so cool.
Wait.
Let.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Okay. I thought it was gonna move it up, and it moved it down, and I was like, "Wait,
yeah,
main is the same."
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Can I hit F6 to reformat this,
Yes,
please?
please.
Wait, it's not doing it.
Oh, I think that's just because your font is so large. It's probably not
Oh.
actually long enough to reformat.
Okay.
So you can drag the split over if you want,
Okay.
so we can see it all.
Hello. The split. The split.
You may have to select it at the in the mode line at the bottom, the gap between the panes down there.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so this is funk main.
Yep.
Dude, that's so cool.
And
Man,
see
that is
now
really
it's
neat.
actually it finally figured out the right types for those stupid vectors that it was saying.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I think
finally
you're
the
right.
inlay has updated.
At the end of the last video, you said you probably have to revert the buffer. Did this like revert
Oh
the
yeah,
buffer, maybe?
yeah.
Okay. Man, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
All right,
pretty
so
sweet, right?
this is yeah, this is really cool. So for this fun name,
So something else you can do, go on fun
uh,
name. Let's try to come up with a reasonable name for this.
okay,
Um, I think it should be meta X. I don't. This is probably not bound. It's bound in LSP mode, but I don't know about eglot. It should be eglot rename. I'm guessing.
oh there it is. Rename the current symbol to new name.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see.
So you can just type a new name. And the nice thing about doing it this way is that even if you have like duplicate variable names, you know,
Yeah.
if you did like %s, it would just like blindly replace all of them everywhere. If you
Yeah.
do it this way, you're actually relying on the language server to understand the language.
Okay.
So if you had a variable named fun name, this would not try to replace that. It would only replace the function named fun name.
I see. Okay. All right. So I got to rename it to something fun, or to something better than fun name. I don't know. I always feel I don't know what to name these functions because like I would just say literally what it does,
Yeah.
which is like file to vec. You know what I mean? Or like file to pieces or something to that effect.
Yeah,
But I feel like
so that's
too
fine.
long.
It's your code. Um
All right.
my
What would you
yeah,
name
my
it?
only consideration would be what are you actually doing? So what is the thing that you're trying to load? Like it's not just you're not just loading some like random file, general file. You're
Oh,
loading a
oh yeah, yeah.
specific
You're
thing.
loading the geometry file.
Yeah. So I would maybe call it like load geom.
Okay, that makes sense. Load.
But again,
You know.
naming things is a major problem in programming.
Oh, and it changed it here
Yeah,
too. That's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. That's what I was getting at. It's basically a global replace, and it'll actually work across files. Like you can do that for a whole project with the language server.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
That is really cool. Okay, great. So we made a new function. Beautiful.
yeah. So now let's look at this a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, can you tell what it's doing? So we talked. I know we talked a little bit about the arrow and return values with the result yesterday, but why don't you explain to me like what it's returning here?
Okay, well it's returning everything that I would like it to return. Um the string. Oh, I see. Okay. So I guess in order of the things that it's returning the contents,
Yep.
which is this. It's returning my integer vector, which is the charge, and then the x, y, and z coordinates respectively.
Yep.
It's also returning an error in case an error is thrown for some reason or another.
Perfect.
Um,
Yep.
and I, so with a question that I do have from yesterday's video, and it looks like my comment is gone, but we had
Oh
so this
no! It shouldn't have done that.
yeah, so the comment is gone. The comment that I had from the previous video was this question mark essentially says, returns the file if the file is present, if not error out, or something like that. Um, if I had this question mark, it would still return this error because that's what it's supposed to return, right? Or
What's your question? I think you're asking a good question, but I didn't quite understand.
okay, so this function returns two things. It returns the thing that you want it to return if it works properly,
Yeah.
and it returns an error if it didn't work properly.
Right.
And that's just how standard functions work.
No. You can have functions that don't return results.
No. I meant. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um. So if we had done, I think, yeah, we used unwrap down there on the parse.
Hmm.
So parse returns a result. One of the things you can do with a result is unwrap it, which says just crash if you get the error version.
Okay.
So if you replace your question marks with unwrap, you could get rid of all of this result stuff.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, you could replace question mark with unwrap. We could actually replace your match with unwrap. I think that was useful for talking about what the question mark does and a little bit about results.
Yeah.
But in practical code, you probably should replace that with a question mark. And the LSP actually might help you with that if you want. Like if you put your cursor on match and you hit Control C A, it might actually have a suggestion there. Um, or not.
If let.
Yeah, we could talk about if let if you wanted, but it's
Not
kind of
particular. Not as
yeah,
of not
it's
right
kind of
now.
a special case of match, so it's not too important right now.
All right.
But yeah, you could replace that match with question mark, and then we could replace the question marks with unwraps, and then that would simplify your return types.
So what would the return type be if I did have an unwrap?
Yeah.
What
So
would the what
yeah,
would the
it
return?
would. So again, if you look at result, it takes result is actually generic over two types. It's generic over the type of the OK, and it's generic over the type of the error.
Okay.
So right now, your return value says it either returns a result, which can be an OK containing a string, a vec usize, vec f64, vec, or it can return an error containing a standard IO error.
Okay.
So if we got rid of the result, it would just return that first thing. It would just return and the parentheses actually mean a tuple. So in Rust, you can't actually return multiple values. but you can pack your multiple values into a single tuple, is what it's called.
Okay.
And then you can unpack the tuple as you see up in main. So it basically looks like multiple return values, but technically in the language, like you're returning one tuple,
Oh, okay.
which helps with the compiler and everything.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be that you could do that for sure.
All
And
right.
and one reason, so just to justify why you would use a result and why it's probably okay to unwrap here, is you would do a match like this, like your match file open, if you could do something useful in the error case. So
Sure.
let's say you want to try to load a geometry from geom.txt, but if
Yes.
you fail to open it, you can supply some default value. Then it would make sense to have this match. But right now, in the error case of your match, it just says to do, so it's going to crash anyway. So
Yeah.
there's basically no difference between what you're doing here and just typing unwrap. Hello, Larry.
He wants to learn how to code. Okay, please don't walk on my keyboard. Oh,
Uh-oh.
there you go, buddy.
So yeah, but it's up to
Uh,
you. So we can play with unwrap, do a little more refactoring, or we can accept this refactor and just go back to working on bonds.
Now let's do some more refactoring. That way I can get a sense
Okay,
for how like practical Rust
sure. Why don't you? I guess
programming
first things first.
programming works.
Why don't you save this and run it again and let's just make sure that everything looks okay.
Okay. Sure
Since
does.
Eaglot ate your comment, I'm a little skeptical already. You know, it could have done something else.
I can't believe it ate the comment. Like that. This doesn't make any sense.
I actually can't believe that, and that is probably a bug.
Okay. All right. Now.
Okay, so it at least produced code that can compile. Good sign. Okay, so now why don't you go ahead and do what we were talking about?
Do I want to put like to use unwrap or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean, is that yeah? What parts were you interested in?
I guess I don't know.
Oh, then do you want to refactor or do you want to go back to the bond links?
No, I mean I'd like to refactor. I don't know like what the best course of action to refactor is. I mean, is using dot unwrap a better solution, or is like using the question mark a better solution in this case because it's just like a file open?
Yeah.
Um, so the return type, I guess. So like this return type, if I put dot unwrap in all the necessary places,
Yes.
what would the return type be? Just an empty result, or
No, it would get rid of the result entirely.
okay,
It would. So you can think of results. The reason it's called unwrap is a result basically wraps your return type.
okay,
So you see actually at the bottom of this function, instead
yeah,
of just returning your tuple of contents charge xyz, you have to wrap it with OK.
okay,
So
I
if
see.
you unwrap it everywhere, you would just return that tuple.
Okay,
Um, I think one refactor would be like your comment said, like we can just replace this match with a question mark.
okay. I mean, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. And if you want to
Because
be really pedantic, um, I think technically the other thing, like switching to unwrap and replacing the return value, isn't strictly a refactor because it changes the behavior of the code.
oh, okay,
and
okay,
and the signature.
okay. Okay. I must have. Oh, the match. That's right. Yep, yep,
Yep.
yep, yep, yep. Okay. Hey, we're cooking. We're cooking over here. Hey yo. All right now. Woo. Okay. All right. So
Nice.
that's at least one thing. That's at least one thing that I've changed. All right. Good. Perfect.